Hey guys, Sean here. I recently took part in the Last Card Standing tournament, hosted by FARFA. The LCS is a tournament series where the topping decks of the previous tournament get banned for every tournament going forward. This forces players to get creative because each week the best deck will be banned. It also means that decks will be getting progressively worse, so weaker decks might have a chance to shine. For LCS 16, I brought my favourite deck, Ancient Gears. Many players have tried and failed to top this deck in previous weeks, so it was up to me to finally get Ancient Gears banned. So, did I succeed in destroying FARFA'S LCS with Ancient Gears? Time to find out. So here's the deck I brought to the tournament. Ancient Gears is a blind second deck, meaning that no matter what the coin flip results in, I pretty much always have the advantage. So the ratios are pretty standard. We run the silver and gold gadget engine so that we can special summon more machines from our hand. They are light machines, but they do help you go into cards like Gigant X and your Platinum Gadget. Planet Pathfinder is really cool because it's an Earth machine and they can search Yugioh Town. We run 2 Reactor Dragon because a standard combo of your Catapult and your Gear Town can get you 2 level 9, meaning you can go into your Enter Blatnir. We run Gustav Max because we run a little train engine and our fusion monsters are level 10. Clockwork Knight is insanely broken in this format. It boosts us by 500, lowers our opponent's monsters by 500, and it can search any card in the deck. And Power Bond is very funny. So is this deck strong enough to win the whole LCS? Let's find out. For round 1 I was up against Cubics. I have very limited knowledge on this deck, but luckily I'm going second and my hand is pretty good. However, my opponent immediately activates Card Destruction. But the new hand I draw is probably the best possible hand for the deck. They activate Reasoning, but I call level 1 because I'm built different, so they end up only milling 1 card. They Foolish Burial Goods at Karma sends Duza, they normal summon it and end their turn. It goes to my turn, Gear Town and Catapult are full combo, so I activate Gear Town, activate Catapult to pop Gear Town and summon Ancient Gear Golem directly from the deck. Gear Town activates to summon Wyvern, which searches Ancient Gear Fusion. I normal summon Frame, using it to discard Reactor Dragon to search another fusion. Then I activate Fusion, which allows me to use monsters from my deck as fusion material if I control Golem, to go directly into Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. 4500 attack, unaffected by spells and traps, does piercing, attacks all monsters your opponent controls, it's just the best card in the game. I don't have lethal yet, so I link into Ballista, search Gear Town, use Ballista to pop Gear Town, lowering Duza's attack to 0, but also letting Gear Town summon Reactor Dragon from the grave. I enter battle phase, and since Chaos Ancient Gear Giant also prevents my opponent from activating monster effects during the battle phase, I attack for game. For round 2 I'm up against Counter Fairies. This matchup is an interesting one. Although a lot of my Ancient Gear monsters ignore spells and traps in the battle phase, the deck really struggles against strong counter traps like the Solemn cards. Luckily for me, I have a good grasp on how to play against this kind of deck. My strategy here is to play it slow and not commit too much, which is easy considering my hand is awful. I summon Silver Gadget, not activating the effect as to not play into a Solemn Strike, and try to attack in, but my opponent has other plans. I try to activate my Gadget in Grave, but it gets hit with a Solemn Warning. I end my turn. They summon Artemis and go in for some damage. Clockwork Knight is putting in some serious work here. My turn and another awful top deck. I summon Pathfinder, enter battle phase, attack in, and they go in for another round of damage, and I barely survive due to Clockwork Knight. It's my final chance and I draw Gear Town. I summon another Pathfinder and finally destroy a monster. I end my turn and luckily my opponent doesn't draw anything to beat over the all-powerful Planet Pathfinder. So they pass on 2 counter traps. On my turn I actually use the first effect of Gear Town to tribute summon Reactor Dragon for 1 less tribute in the year of our Lord 2024. With a whopping 3500 attack and the ability to pop spells and traps after damage step, I begin to break their board card by card. It passes back to them, but they can only set 1 and pass. I draw into MST, use it to pop their final back row, summon Gold Gadget, go into battle phase, attack with Reactor Dragon, use its effect to destroy my own Gear Town to summon another Reactor Dragon and attack for game. Round 3 was against Necros. I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh during 2015, so I have very little knowledge on what I was up against. However, my opponent only does this.
New archetypes into the spotlight: Yosenju, Ritual Beast, and what is arguably one of the strongest and most consistent decks of all time, Necros.
Unironically, Set Cosmic and Pass is like an FTK against my deck. Because I don't have any other monsters on board, my only play is activate Gear Town and pop it with MST. But this is met with the Set Cosmic Cyclone. I end on 2 Set Urgent Schedule and Pass. They summon Tenju of the Thousand Hands to search Nekroz of Trishula, activate Nekroz Mirror to summon Trishula, then use its effect to banish one card from my hand, field, and graveyard. They activate Bryonak, search Unicore, activate Kaleidoscope to summon Valkyrus and Unicore, and use Unicore and Tenju to summon Tornado Dragon. They use its effect to pop my Urgent Schedule, so I chain it to summon Wyvern and Reactor Dragon. Reactor Dragon is able to wall against their monsters, so they use Valkyrus to tribute 2 to draw 2. They set another Cosmic Cyclone and pass. Reactor Dragon yet again puts in some insane work by destroying Valkyrus. At this point my opponent tries to tin their deck by using their Nekroz effects in Grave, but I keep attacking with my Reactor Dragon and Gold Gadget. Another turn goes by, I summon Wyvern, search Fusion, attempt to attack for game, but they activate Valkyrus to end the battle phase. So I go into Gear Gigant X, search Box, Box searches Frame, use Fusion to go into Hellwitzer, which puts my opponent on a timer, and pass turn. They don't draw an out and surrender. Round 4 was against Fossils. They begin with Miracle Rupture, sending Shell Knight from the deck to grave. Shell Knight adds Primeval Congrate from the deck to the hand. Then they set 4 and pass. I draw for turn and my hand is pretty insane. I begin with the classic Clockwork Knight into Catapult combo, summoning Golem from my deck. I use Clockwork Knight to discard Reactor Dragon and search Wyvern. My opponent activates Congrate in hand, summoning it face down. It has a strong effect, but if I summon my Chaos Giant, I won't have to worry about it. I search Fusion with Wyvern, activate Fusion, and they chain Forbidden Lance, targeting Golem, making it unaffected by card effects. This means that it's unaffected by Ancient Gear Fusion, so it resolves without effect. Absolute big brain play on my opponent's part. I use my gadgets to summon Gigant X, search Box to search Frame, which I should have done before using Fusion so I could have at least summoned Megaton Golem. I enter battle phase, attack the face down monster with Golem, they activate Weathering Soldier to add Fossil Fusion from deck to hand. I didn't attack the Congrate as it would destroy my monsters, so I pass turn. They flip the Kong to destroy my monsters, use Fossil Fusion to summon their Fossil Warrior Skull King, they clean up my board and pass turn. I draw an MST, activate Clockwork Knight, but is met with a Cosmic Cyclone. I summon Frame, use it to search Fusion, activate Fusion to summon Hellwitzer, I enter battle phase and crash my Hellwitzer to summon Reactor Dragon from the deck. Swing into the Kong, which can't activate his effect due to Reactor Dragon, pop their last back row and pass. Unfortunately it's not enough and they clean up with the Skull Knight sweep. I made a few mistakes and could have played slightly better, but overall it was a very enjoyable game. The deck is kinda based. Round 5 is against Valkyries. I win the coin toss, which is important since I'm assuming my opponent was playing a Valkyrie OTK deck. They set a monster and pass. I'll just let the rest of the duel speak for itself.
Back to Wyvern, add Fortress. Oh no no no. Oh no no no. Oh, that's so misogynistic. How could you do this? Who expects an Ancient Gear pounding that early, huh?
Round 6 is against Ancient Gears. I wasn't the only Ancient Gear gamer in this tournament. Fortunately, I win the coin toss, so I'm at a huge advantage. My opponent ends on Hellwitzer Pass, which is an OTK against most decks.
However,
I win the duel, but I respect my fellow Ancient Gear gamer for making it this far. I'll take it from here and fulfill Crowder's prophecy. For the final round of Swiss, I'm up against Malefics. I win the coin toss, so I get to go second, which is great since Malefics are a blind second deck. My opponent begins by activating Mound of the Bound Creator, which gives protection to level 10 monsters. They summon Malefic Paradox Gear, which specials Malefic Parallel Gear and adds Malefic Stardust. They synchro into Malefic Paradox Dragon and pass turn. I draw Wyvern for turn. I normal summon Pathfinder and use it to search Gear Town. I use MST to pop Gear Town and summon Wyvern. Wyvern searches Box, Box searches Frame, and you know what time it is. I use Ancient Gear Fusion, using every monster in my hand to summon Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Then I use Overload Fusion to summon another one. I go into battle phase, attack into Parallel Dragon, their field spell burns them for 1000, I do more damage but barely miss lethal. If only there was a rank 10 Xyz that could burn my opponent for 2k. That's the end of the Swiss rounds. I end on a 6-1 record, which means I make it to top 16. This is still best of 1, but losing here means I'm out of the tournament. Will the pressure get to me? Surely I won't lose all cognitive function and fail to do simple maths. For the first round of Top Cut, I'm up against the same Malefic player as last game. And again, I win the coin toss, so I'm going second. They begin by summoning 2 Malefic monsters from the hand, which immediately get destroyed due to the lack of a field spell. This is so that they can use Malefic Selector to banish those monsters from the grave to add Malefic Territory and Paradox Gear. Territory activates Malefic Worlds from deck. They summon Paradox Gear, use it to summon Parallel Gear and add Malefic Stardust Dragon. Parallel Gear allows them to synchro from hand, and they synchro summon Paradox Dragon and pass. Over to my turn, and my hand is insane. There's absolutely no way I can lose this. I activate Fortress and chain Urgent Schedule to summon Frame and Reactor Dragon from the deck. I summon Pathfinder and use it alongside Frame to Xyz into Gear Gigant X. I use its effect to search for Frame, and then activate Power Bond. I fuse everything into Chaos Giant and attack into Malefic Paradox Dragon with 9k attack. Unfortunately, the big numbers got to my brain and I failed to realize that this wasn't game. I 100% could have won this turn with the cards in my hand, but surely I'll win next turn, right? It's over. My run ends here. I let Crowther down. I let the Ancient Gear gamers down. I tried my best. The haters were right. I'm trash with Ancient Gears. No, I need to believe. I just need one card to turn this around. Here goes nothing. I draw for turn, and I draw. The dream is still alive. We move to top 8. Top 8 and I'm up against Chemicritters. Chemicritters are a Gemini deck, so my opponent summons Chemicritter Hydron Hawk, equips it with Supervise like we're back in Edison, sets a card and passes. I top deck MST, use it on their back row, they chain it to summon a monster, but unfortunately L plus Ratio plus Fortress plus Gear Town plus Catapult plus Golem plus Wyvern plus Fusion plus Giant plus Gadget plus Gigant plus Box plus Frame plus Overload plus another Giant plus attacks all your monsters plus does piercing plus GG. On to the semi-finals, and I'm up against Ice Barriers. This is definitely going to be the battle of the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. My opponent starts by summoning Revealer of the Ice Barrier, discarding a card to special summon Defender of the Ice Barrier. And Defender is right, because it prevents me from attacking with monsters whose attack are higher than its own. I start my turn by MSTing the back row, then I summon Gold Gadget to summon Wyvern. Wyvern searches Fusion, I Xyz into Gigant X, use the effect to search for Box. Box searches Frame, and I use Fusion to summon Hellwitzer. I burn for 1k and pass. I've managed to put my opponent on an 8-turn clock, but Hellwitzer won't last forever, so I need to think of something. Revealer summons another Ice Barrier monster, and they pass back to me. There is only one way in this deck for me to out Defender without beating over it, and it's very convoluted. I start by activating Urgent Schedule to summon Frame and Bullet Train. I use Gigant to search Wyvern, then link into Ballista with Frame and Bullet Train. Ballista searches Gear Town, then Ballista pops Gear Town so that Gear Town can summon Reactor Dragon. Next, I normal summon Wyvern to search Fusion, link Hellwitzer and Gigant into another Ballista, then use Fusion to summon Megaton Golem. All the pieces of my plan have assembled, so I use my 2 level 9s to summon Phantom Fortress Enter Blatnir. I use its effect to banish Defender, and finally use the Overload Fusion in my hand to summon Chaos Giant. And that is why they call me the Ancient Gear GOAT. I made it to the finals, and for my final challenge, I'm up against Crystron. It all comes down to this. My opponent begins by summoning GX Undyne, using the effect to send Crystron Tystvern from deck to grave. They activate its effect to summon Crystron Sulfefnir. They activate Sulfefnir effect, summoning it and destroying itself, using its graveyard effect to summon Crystron Praziortal, which destroys itself to summon Crystron Citri from the deck. They finally set 2 cards and pass. I start by activating Clockwork Knight, then I summon Silver Gadget, which summons Gold Gadget, which summons Frame. I exile Silver Gadget and Gold Gadget into Gigant, but my opponent activates Citri to bring back Praziortal, and then immediately synchros into Crystron Quandax. Next, they activate Quandax to quick synchro and chain Crystron Impact to bring back Citri. So the chain resolves and they synchro summon into Crystron. Jesus fucking Christ. It activates its effect to banish the 2 monsters I control. Unfortunately, I can only set MST and pass. Back to my opponent and they activate Crystron Entry in the graveyard to set another Tyster. Tyster adds Smyger, Sulfefnir discards to special summon itself and then destroys itself to special summon Ryon. They normal summon Mathematician, dump Roxanne, and synchro into Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon attempts to destroy my MST, so I chain it to pop their back row. Rosenek's effect is activated to summon a token, then Smyger adds Crystron Impact. Finally, they synchro into FA Dawn Dragster for a spell trap negate, attack in, and set 2 before passing turn. I draw into Wyvern, normal summon Wyvern, search box which searches Frame for follow-up. I beat into Dawn Dragster so I can safely activate another Clockwork Knight and pass on a 2700 Wyvern. However, in the end phase my opponent activates 2 Crystron Impacts, special summons 2 Crystrons from the Banish Zone. It's the final turn, they summon Mathematician, dump Praziortal, use it to summon Quan from hand, and they synchro using 4 monsters into Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier, which banishes my entire field. Finally, they enter battle phase and attack for a game. At least I pulled a Royal Platinum Gadget. So that's how I almost won the LCS with Ancient Gears. Overall, I had a great time playing my favourite deck against some of the most insane decks you'll ever see. Because I and another player topped with Ancient Gears, it was then banned from the LCS. At this point, the first season of the LCS has concluded, but season 2 is starting very soon, so you know I'll be right back with a vengeance, ready to take the crown with the best deck in the game, Ancient Gears. Thanks for watching.